Welcome back, Jacket Nation, to this week's edition of Inside the Hive. Joining me as my guest today is head women's lacrosse coach Jason Allen. Coach, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.
All right, let's get right into it. What are some of the advantages and disadvantages of starting a first-year program?
I think some of the advantages are you get to design it the way you want to design it. You can start traditions, build traditions, similar to what the men's lacrosse program has done here. Having a club program is just kind of a free will kind of thing. You just go along with the flow.
Can you talk about that transition from being a club team to being now an NCAA team this coming spring?
As a club team, I mean, last year I had 15 girls, 13 of which had never, ever touched the lacrosse stick before. It was a challenge not only for me, but for those kids to learn. We had about 6 to 8 scrimmages with high school teams and actually 4 college teams. A couple of the games we got whomped on. I mean, it's going to happen, right? So after those games, we regrouped, had a few practices, got back together, and we only did 3 to 4 practices a week. Going to an NCAA program now, you're going to be practicing 5 to 6 times a week. You're going to be doing a lot more work. You're going to be learning a lot more quicker. Bringing recruits in as freshmen, they're going to help these people that have not learned the sport completely to help them out, to get them better at the game.
Coach, talk about, you mentioned a lot of your players haven't had that experience. Talk about something that you are excited about, even though they haven't had that much experience playing lacrosse.
I think last year was a real surprise when I sent out the email to all the DC students, and I said, hey, I was like, who wants to play lacrosse? Come on out. I think a lot of girls were skeptical because they had never played the sport before. To give you a few examples, I'm sure DC Nation knows Erica King. Erica King's a starting point guard for the women's basketball team. Erica picked up a stick, and within 4 days, I mean, she was amazing. She was our leading goal scorer in the 4 college games we had this last spring. I think she had 11 or 13 goals in 4 games. Other girls that stepped up, Megan Fields, basketball player, DC, Ashley Birchmeyer, basketball player, DC. Lisa Ratterman's a student here. She's our goalie. Who else? Rachel Simonello. Holy moly, I wish I had her back. Rachel Simonello really turned out to be a great player. I mean, Sephra Wheeler, who was playing nothing, who played a lot of sports in college. I mean, a lot of girls just stepped right into it and played really great. Those girls, I really appreciate them coming out, because if not, we probably wouldn't have had a club team.
Absolutely. You always see it's a learning curve. Talk about the learning curve for you. I mean, not actually playing the sport of lacrosse. What got you interested and got you into coaching lacrosse?
Actually, funny story. I still coach soccer. I've coached soccer for 18 years now, 13 at the high school level. Love soccer. It's still one of my favorite sports. But I was at Notre Dame Academy in Toledo, and I was a JV soccer coach, and it was the end of the season, and 3 girls came up to me and said, hey, coach lacrosse. And I was like, I have no clue what lacrosse is. So they went out, they bought me a book, Lacrosse for Dummies. I read a little bit of it. The AD asked me to be an assistant coach. I was an assistant that year. I took a year off, and then after that, it just started snowballing and became the head coach at that school. And I've been doing coaching education classes through U.S. Lacrosse ever since. And that's when I got my job as a volunteer assistant at Tiffin University for 2 years under Colleen Dixon. And then after that I applied for the Defiance college job and, got lucky and got the job.
Well, we're definitely glad to have you here. So dating back to that high school experience, how long have you actually been coaching lacrosse now?
I've been coaching lacrosse now for 8 years. The last 3 years I've been doing it year-round. I do a club lacrosse program in Toledo as well. I started the club program with 15 girls. We're up to about 45 now. So coaching in the summer, not only in the fall, but also in the spring here, I mean, my schedule's cut out for me. Sometimes my wife ever wonders if I'm going to eat dinner at home, you know what I mean?
Absolutely. Definitely know the grind of being a serious competitive athlete. You talked about, the women's program, establishing goals and traditions like the men's program. Talk a little bit about the differences between men's lacrosse and women's lacrosse.
I think with men's lacrosse and women's lacrosse, a lot of people, especially from the Defiance area, nothing against them, they haven't grown up with lacrosse. They don't know what it's about. They look at men's and women's soccer and see the similarities, and they're like, oh, okay, well, this isn't anything different. For example, when I was hired here, I was told, well, we got to get some sticks and we got to get some pads and some helmets for your girls. And I go, no, you don't. I said, we use goggles and a mouth guard and a stick. That's all we need. Difference with the girls is that it's a lot more whistles. So get ready for that, DC. But other than that, there's a little bit of contact, but we don't hit with sticks. We don't get brutal like the Warriors do of the DC men's team. So we just go out there, and it's more about finesse and strategy than anything.
I know that's true. For myself, dating back to my freshman year of college, I went back home and interviewed my head coach, asking him, hey, is there any way I can help out? He's like, yeah, we got a women's program going. He's like, would you like to coach our women's team? I was really excited. I had a whole schedule, practice schedule made out. And as soon as I got there, I couldn't do any of it because I had all contact drills and everything. So what's your biggest challenge in making a practice schedule for your girls?
I think the biggest challenge is taking the strengths of the girls where they're at in their skill level. For example, you might have some that are kind of towards the bottom. Then you're going to have some that are way up there. So you really got to mix it up to where the people at the bottom aren't getting so discouraged that they want to leave. Or you got to make sure that people at the top don't get so discouraged that they want to leave. So you got to have it in the middle. Sometimes I split my girls up into the little bit more advanced, into the ones that are a little bit less. So that way we can get the good work in that we need.
Coach, building for the future, this spring being your first year NCAA, what do you have envisioned for the next 5 years?
I think in the next 5 years, one of the plans that I have in place is obviously to bring in lacrosse talent, 10 to 12 girls, hopefully a year. That way I can bring them in, have them teach some of these girls that don't know the sport. 5 years down the road, we will have a conference in the HCAC. We had a meeting about that the other day. That will come to fruition at some point. I'm not going to give a date because I'm not sure on that date. But there will be a conference in the HCAC, and obviously I want to compete in that conference. I want to be able to get 10 to 12 recruits this year, and then possibly, from there, have your 6 to 8, maybe 10. Everything's bonus over your numbers. And going from there, to have a squad of 25 girls that are legit, that can play. Having that talent on your team and going to the HCAC tournament that we're going to have, I think that's huge. I think that's key. And I think that just building the program and also working with the community so that way they can see what women's lacrosse is, and obviously going to the high school, going to the Y, saying, hey, can I do a camp, just a clinic, just one day, just to show them what it is, and maybe some of these local schools here can pick it up. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. It's definitely something that we can see growing in this area. I know the men's program really took off, and we had people kind of got behind our program, kind of backed us last spring. And so we definitely look forward for that future DC success with the women's program. So, Coach, any last comments?
Nope, no last comments. I'm just looking forward to this season starting in the spring.
Absolutely, so are we. For more information on women's lacrosse, please visit defianceathletics.com. For head coach Jason Allen, I'm Jordan Taylor. Thanks for joining us. Go Jackets.